Anyway, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody here, all my friends and collectors and people that like my work, and I really appreciate that. And I guess I might say in line with that is that my belief is that all art is performing art. In other words, we need art. We need an audience. I mean, why would we create anything if we didn't want to share it with someone? And so that's what I've been trying to do over the years, and I appreciate the audience that I've developed, and I appreciate the support that has made it possible. And I want to thank everybody, like my old collector friends, and Peter, and Kurt, and Ego. Anyway, I can't name everybody because I have a memory problem as well. And I love that Maine story by Marshall Dodge, the old guy sitting there. He said, "Well, they tell me I'm losing my mind." He says, "But I don't miss it much." But storytelling, it's the Maine traditions, Irish traditions, Celtic, whatever. But it's a tradition that a lot of us appreciate. And I particularly do. I've always wanted to be a storyteller or a poet, but I didn't have the background, the education for doing that. So I poured all my energy into painting and making paintings. So, and as Carl said, I don't know about my style. I guess I would say my style was developed or started to be developed in California. When I got out of the service, I bounced around on the beach out there for about 3 or 4 years and just kind of find myself. I don't think I did. But anyway, as I bounced around the beach out there, I ran into a Spanish expressionist artist that was very influential in helping me to learn the basics, for instance, of art, the composition, color theory, and art history. So I followed him around for about 2 years and painted with him, and in that context, looking through art books and talking about art history and whatever, I discovered Marsden Hartley. And that, a light went on in my head. And I said, whoa. It was a painting of the fishermen on the docks at Korea, Maine. And there they were with their hip boots and their oilskins, and they're standing around their lobster traps and smoking and shooting the crap like fishermen do. Well, anyway, I said, I'm going back to Maine and pick up where this guy left off. And that's been my goal right along. And Carl seems to appreciate that I guess was a valid thing to do. So, and I'm very so excited lately, especially with this new response, that kind of a resurgence that I had. I had a kind of a resurgence in '92. I had a big retrospective at Bates, and that generated a lot of interest and energy, and got me into museums and stuff around the state, and helped get my name in the galleries all over Maine that I've shown in over the years. Anyway, and now, again, I always knew there'd be a book, but I didn't know I'd get to live to see it. So, and thankfully I have. I really appreciate the book itself and what went into it, and I'm very happy with the way it came out, and I hope you will be also. But I don't know how much time I've got. If we talk about art or about my background or what or not, but my friend Gary here. My friend Gary Stanwood from Steuben. He's a captain of a lobster boat. I worked on his boat for a couple of years, and I worked on many boats in California. When I got hungry, where'd I go? I went to South Salito, got on an Italian fishing boat, went out to fishing, and came back. And went to Fisherman's Wharf and bought sourdough bread. That's about all I could afford too, after fishing for a couple of weeks. But but anyway, I've always my background is I come from Booth Bay, and a fishing town. Was a fishing town. Now it's kind of overgrown with implants, and but other than that, that's why I came down east. I went back to Booth Bay when I came from California and looked around, and what I did find down there was a very good friend of mine, or another very good artist, Fritz Rockwell, who was a student of Zorak. And I attached myself to him for a couple of years and followed him around Booth Bay, and he was really an amazing character. He got his eye shot out when he was like 30 by an irate husband, and he said it was all a mistake, and I believe it. But anyway, but Fritz was very, very influential in my work and helping me to appreciate Maine art and how to really look at Maine as a potential landscape, and I really appreciate learning from him. And then I came down to Gouldsboro. My first wife and I, we saved up for a year. We had $5,000 and we bought 50 acres of woodland, and I didn't have enough money to build a house. I had the land, but I didn't have enough money to build a house, so that I tore down a barn in Gouldsboro, right? Never do that. Never do that. I got probably 15% of the boards I saved, right? And I had a saw that I didn't know you could sharpen, so I kept putting soap on it. And it took me about 10 minutes to saw through one of those old boards, and it was quite an experience. But I built the house. I hand dug a well that was 15 feet down, and I hand dug a well and built a studio and an outhouse and moved in. And right away, I met Dennis Vibert from Sullivan, who had a gallery right there in Sullivan, the Pine Tree Gallery. And he liked my work a lot and wanted to show me there. So the first year, at the end of the season, he paid me. I had a check for $600. I said, wow, I can paint a whole year on this. So I went to work. And I had like a long, about 6 or 8 months. I painted a whole bunch of paintings and sold them next year, and it kept getting better and better. So that was my first experience of showing and selling paintings in Maine. So, and then I hit the road, and I went all the way from Camden to Portland to Brunswick, and all the galleries, and knocking on the doors, trying to get interest in my work, and usually I had a good response. And from that time on, that was about 30 years ago, I think. And from then I could pretty much paint full-time, and which I've been doing. So I've been painting almost 60 years and making a living for 30, which pretty good, real good for doing what I do. But anyway, I grew up in Booth Bay around fishing people, and my grandfather was a boat builder on my mother's side and a carpenter on my father's side. And he also ran the Squirrel Island Ferry back in the turn of the century and beyond. And so I grew up, and all my uncles, and they were all either fishermen. One uncle was lost at sea. But they had really interesting names. They had the old Anglo-Saxon names like Malcolm, Arthur, Keeney. Anyway, they all had very interesting names. And so then what? So I'm really, as you can see, I'm not really accustomed to this. I'm sorry? All right. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Karen. I guess basically the three different styles that I have, pretty much. Oh, thank you, hon. This is my granddaughter, Poppy. Thank Poppy. All right. And I have a landscape style, and I have a narrative style. That's my storytelling style, and I finished this painting up just 2 or 3 weeks ago, just to have it for the show, because I wanted to have a good narrative to be able to tell you about a specific painting and where it came from. Well, I had a muscle business before I was making I was making a living painting. I was one of the first ones to have a mussel business in the area. Doug Hardy from Deer Isle and I. And Tommy's an interesting character. He's from Sorrento. And Tommy was a World War II vet. And he was in Patton's division, or Patton's army, actually. And he was an engineer. He was the guy that went out and built the bridges in the night so that he could run the tanks across in the morning and attack the enemy. But they were under fire all night long while they were building these bridges. But that's where Tommy came from that experience. Well, anyway, he came back to Sorrento, and he had a brother that was a little slow, and he took great care of him, and took him everywhere he went, and he loved his brother. His brother's name was Stuart Andrews, and Tommy Andrews, but everybody called Stuart too. I don't know why. Probably when he was little, somebody gave him the name or something. But Stuart had very hard communicating. He had false teeth, and they floated. And, so you really could not understand. Plus his Maine downeast accent, you know, with floating teeth, it didn't. You really couldn't. I remember my wife came down to one time and to see how I was doing on the beach, and Drew ran over and started talking to her. He said, and she said, okay, have a nice day, and drove off. And so Tommy said, Drew wanted to ride home, you know. And I said, no, I didn't know that. Anyway, Drew had this old 40s FWD. It was like 16 wheels forward and 4 in reverse. And they were built specifically for plowing snow in Wisconsin, and they were a powerful truck. You could just put it in gear and walk beside it and run it and walk ahead and wait for it to catch up. But it was very powerful, and they hauled boats up off the beach. And there's one story I remember. There was a harbor master in Sorrento named Willie Bunker, and he and Tommy were just always fighting. They couldn't get along. So he was complaining about Tommy one day, and I was like, well, Willie, why are you so mad at Tommy all the time? He said, oh, that damn Tommy, he's dragging them boats up the road, tearing up the road, taking them up Village Field and dumping them. And I said, well, so what? It's a dirt road, right? And he said, yeah, it is now. These are my resources. These are the characters. These are the people that I love and that I love to be around. And in the book, there are several other narratives. There's the Rusty Anchor painting. Now, the Rusty Anchor was built by the brother of one of my best friends, Robert West, from Steuben. And he built, Bill owned that building as it was a garage, a big garage. And he made it into a restaurant. He probably invested less than $600 in the whole enterprise. And Robert and I used to go up and help him work on it. Well, he put poles for beams in the addition he built on it. They were spruce poles right out of the woods, and they were 3 feet apart. And then he had 1/2-inch plywood he nailed to the plate, and because it went just like that. The roof went just like that. Helped the water run off pretty good. But anyway, that was the kind of building that he had. But it was very, I don't know how you define successful, but it had a lot of people going there, a lot of people looking forward to it. I used to love to go there and just sit in the corner and listen to the stories that the fishermen were always telling, and that's where I got a lot of paintings from those stories and from sitting there. And but Bill West was really incredible character. I could tell stories about him all day too. But one story, when he was fishing, somebody cut off about 5 or 10 of his lobster traps. So Bill said, just what to do. He went out the next day. He knew who did it. He went along this whole string of traps, cut off like 30, 40 traps, tied his traps onto this guy, no, tied his buoy on this guy's traps. And took all of the guy's buoys, of the guy that cut his traps off, took them right over to his boat, threw them in right in the back of the boat, and said, "Here, I think you lost these." So I don't think he got cut off much anymore after that. But he was a character character too. And just like Tommy, you know, they're great guys, but you don't get in their way. You know, if they're doing something, don't get in their way. I learned that. Well, that's that house about 3 years ago. It's coming out of Stonington around Burnt Cove. When you're coming out of Stonington around Burnt Cove, that was, I call it, I think it's the house at Burnt Cove. No, that's the yellow birdhouses. Well, coming around there, it's February, right? It's just totally gray, you know, dismal. But those birdhouses were like little lights shining, and probably the guy's buoy paint. You know, they painted all these yellow buoys, and it really stood out. And felt like I had to do it. But you see all the stuff around the glitz, or whatever they call it, the old broken tractor and the broken pickup and all that stuff that makes up a good fisherman's yard. So, you know, a working man lives there. Let's see, what other stories do I got? I'm so sorry. This is way over my head. You know, I'm sorry. Oh, that's smelt shanties. These the guys that go out on the frozen rivers and fish for smelts through the ice, and they have these little shacks with the big hole in the floor, and they fish down through, and it keeps them out of the wind and whatever. And they always paint them individually, and they name them, and they're very personally attached to them, the little smelt shacks. And they sit around and drink beer and catch fish, hopefully.
What about your Oasis series?
I'm sorry?
The Oasis series.
Okay, the Oasis series, like you said, it's part of my... In these times we live in, you know, reality is just really kind of too much with us, as far as I'm concerned. It's too much with me, anyway. So, so this Oasis series is to show that Maine is still a kind of a secure place. But for me personally, it's a spiritual thing. My relationship, I feel, to a higher being, a creator, that personally that I believe in, and that has a great plan for the future. And this, and you'll notice in the book, I wrote in the book after my name, I put Psalm 91:1, and it refers to the feeling that you have when you have a relationship with a creator, I believe. So anyway, and that's what keeps me going. This hope of something better than what we see around us here today, and so that keeps me going. So that's why the Oasis in the series. Any other questions? I do better with questions.
I have 3.
I'm sorry?
I have 3.
That's great.
I want to know why you did more than one Oasis.
Oh, okay. Well, a lot of times if I have a good sketch. Oh, wait, before I almost forgot something. I brought because Carl mentioned that I use these small sketches. I brought a bunch of small sketches just so you can see what we're talking about here. And like he said, Ed Guillermo was a very good friend of mine, and from Sorrento. He used to come by with, and the kids loved him. They called him Uncle Ed. He'd come by, and after he went to Australia, he went all these great exotic places, and he'd come back and have a slideshow for the kids. And anyway, they loved him, and he was very good to me. He gave me the idea of carrying around a small sketchbook. And what that does, it eliminates, you know, a lot of detail. So that's what enables me to keep my compositions very simple. So, you know, I have to keep it simple so I understand it. So, but here's a sample. You want to pass these around? This is a sample of the sketchbook. So, I have so many sketchbooks that some of them only have like 2 or 3 drawings in them, and some of them don't make sense, but some of them were actually made paintings. That's a weird one, yeah. I don't know what that means. We'll hide that one, but some of them are from, this is from Spain. Yeah, there's a tapas bar we used to go to in Spain. But that's another thing. There's when I was younger, I loved to travel. I don't anymore because I don't like the crowds in the airport. I don't like anybody poking through my pockets and emptying out my shoes. And I don't like being treated like a criminal that hasn't been caught yet. So I try to avoid traveling now, pretty much. What then? I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't answer the question yet. And okay, now I'm sorry I got sidetracked. But when I have a good sketch, like all of these paintings came basically from one sketch. And I said, well, how can I make this continue this? So I said, well, I'll just move things around a little bit. I'll change colors. But the composition is pretty much the same. It's from a blueberry field. We all know blueberry fields here, turned red. Some people don't know that. So in my gallery, what I have is a photograph of a blueberry field that shows how red they can get in October. So it's not, well, it's an exaggeration, but a little bit. But you know, Georgia O'Keeffe, I love what she said about the artist function on that line, where she said that an artist function is to exaggerate, eliminate, and emphasize. So what we're looking at as artists, what at least the ones that paint like I do, minimal or whatever, it's an editing process. You're adding and taking away from what you see, but to make so painting has its own life. You know, it's a created thing, and it has its own life, and as long as it's true to itself, that's what the frame does. It separates reality from itself. And as long as it's true to itself, the painting works. And what was the second question?
You did a painting in Franklin, and I think it had a vehicle in it. It might have said Navy oil on it, or it was like a truck or something. It was on a highway and the men were working.
I do know. I think Peter has one of those paintings. See that painting back there, the wood relief? That's the Airline. And it used to be more like that, like a wheelback. And it went like that, but they straightened it out so the Canadian trucks can go straight from Canada to New Jersey now without making any turns. But it used to be very interesting, and the kids would love it. They go up and down. And so I painted that with Irving oil truck, one of them. And then one of my collectors had a wholesale grocery business, and he asked me if I'd put one of his trucks in it. So I put one of his trucks in it. But that's from that part of that series, or the road, the trucks, the cars. And you notice in all my cars, because I grew up in the 40s and 50s pretty much, and the cars I remember all were like that. You know, they had a great character and shape, and they were all so uniquely different, you know. And well, I don't know how many car companies there were, but there used to be a lot.
Can you tell us about that painting? The colors seem so different.
It is different, isn't it?
And so,
well, spring to me is easier now, but spring used to be hard with all the greens and everything. And I used to have a hard time with spring. You know, I don't have very many older spring paintings. But that spring painting is very busy. It's from a hillside across from my log cabin up in Aurora on the pond, and that's across the pond. It's a hillside in the spring, and in the book, one of my better paintings in the book, there's a hillside that's a close up. It's an area that I did a large painting, but it's like that. Just a piece of the hillside is one of my favorite ones with the big. I was telling somebody earlier, all my trees, all my mountains are like Big Rock Candy Mountains, and my lollipop trees, and my lollipop trees. So it's like, yeah, my background in art, my first exposure to art in the 40s was cartoons. Yeah, hey, you see it? Yeah, you know, and so that was the art that I grew up with, and I've carried a lot of it, which is still with me, I think. But the 40s and 50s, everybody said you shouldn't say that times in the past were great, but as I remember them, they were pretty damn good. you know, where everybody had a job, everybody had a function and a purpose, community cared for each other, and you know, it was a great time to grow up in the 40s and 50s. And I'm glad I did. Yeah.
All of your work seems to really come from inside you, you know,
Yeah.
the way you interact with the environment.
That's right.
Did you ever do commissions?
Oh, well, no. Well, I have. Yes, oh, I have. You have one.
Yes.
Oh, I was going to say, but usually, I don't. Is this true with you? When somebody asked me if that I would paint a certain subject or whatever, and I said, well, if I feel like it, I will. But you're not obligated to buy it. If you can come and look, you have the first. If I paint a subject that you want to see, you're not obligated to buy it. Just come and look. If you like it, buy it. If you don't, that's fine. But I've tried doing commissions. In fact, I've tried doing portraits, and it was the worst experience I ever did. Well, because what you're doing, you're trying to think, what would this person like? You know, well, how are they going to look at this? You can't get that. I couldn't get that out of my mind, and so it just destroyed my creativity. No, not yours. No, but I'm talking about a portrait. Not yours. No, but well, I painted. I painted Peter commission painting. I think. But what was that?
Sugarloaf palm tree.
That's it. Sugarloaf and palm tree. Yep. Yeah. That's right. That was a wooden relief. Yeah. But what I did was I did 3 of them, and you didn't see the other 2 though, did you? But you got one of them. Oh, good. Thank you. So in general, commission paintings are kind of hard for me to do. Any other questions? I do better with this one. Okay, that's an Eastern dragger, and they were converted from the old. Back in the 1880s and 90s, when the cod fishing industry, they took dories out and set these guys out on the Grand Banks, and they hand-lined cod all day and brought them back to the boat and dumped them in the boat. And they were sailboats originally. Well, in the 20s, everybody wanted power, so they cut the masts off and they put an engine back here under the wheelhouse. The engineer was. I know that because my uncle was the engineer. And the only time, well, I don't know, but he was drunk all the time. He never but he's down in that engine room, right? You can imagine the noise and the smells, and you know. And that's another thing about my paintings. When I paint a boat, I've had people say, you know, that boat is so funky or whatever. I said, hopefully you'll be able to smell the bilge in it. You know, like you're down in a wooden boat, bilge with the bait juice and the hydraulic oil and the engine oil and the seaweed and whatever. Well, that's the kind of feeling I like to portray in my boat. But my uncle had a fleet of these in Booth Bay. His name was Red Bradley. He was an uncle by marriage. He had like 5 of them. He was a very successful purse singer. And he would call up on the radio and say, hey, run over to the Meadow Cove and set your nets out. And the guy called me, I just was over there, ain't nothing over there. And damn it, I didn't get that. Go over there and set the nets out. And he said, okay, you're off, and he'd fill the boat. And they'd fill the boat with it. And they come into Rockland, sell the fish. Redwood would call up the Ford dealer and said, I want 4 new Fords down here this afternoon. And they'd bring him down. He'd pay him cash, give him one to all of his crew. They go up to the hotel in Rockland, the big hotel downtown there. What was that?
Thorndike.
Okay, Thorndike, yeah, okay. Anyway, and they would take everybody out, and they'd kick everybody out of the hotel, take it over, get a band, and all the girls in town would come and dance and party. And, I mean, we're talking like maybe $40,000 or something he'd make in that, you know, for his catch, and they spend it all on the weekend. And when he went back to the pier, anybody standing around the pier, he'd throw the car keys to him and say, hey, you want to take that car? I don't need it anymore. You throw the keys to them, get on the boat. They're all drunk, and they got on the boat and sober up somewhere between here and, the island somewhere. Yeah.
Phil, remember you can't paint in Captain Bligh?
What's that? Oh, Captain Bligh.
Can you tell that story?
Yeah, I will. Yes, that's in the book. The Captain Bligh, Kurt owns the painting. And that's, somebody mentioned, I think Carl mentioned, Vic Levette. And he was a character also, great character. Gary and I fished right next. I got to know him from, he'd be in the Rusty Anchor a lot, and he had draggers out, and they'd scallop in, and we'd get together at the Rusty Anchor and talk. And anyway, Vic Levesque, he'd hire a crew. He'd go downtown and hire these guys, these young kids, or right off the, they'd never even been on a boat. He'd hire them and say, come on, I got a job for you, come on. So, and he'd give them marijuana and beer, and send them out with somebody that knew what he's doing. I think his son or his brother would go out with him to keep him from falling overboard or whatever. But one time they forgot to tie the boat up, and it went aground on what's the light off Bar Harbor? Huh? Baker's Island. Went aground on Baker's Island, pounded a hole in it. They dragged it into the Trenton airport, put it up on the ramp, and they welded it all together, patched it up. And that painting is about that story with the guys patching up that boat so they get back out there. Yep. So,
Can you tell us about Priscilla?
that's right.
Can you tell us about Priscilla?
No. No, but I could never have done this, whatever I'm doing. I could never have done it without her and her support. And my family, all my kids, Sam and Travis back there, my two granddaughters. And all my family are great, supportive, and all my friends have always been supportive of what I'm doing. And I really appreciate everybody's support and help. And so far, so good. So, any other questions?
I just have one question on the relief paintings
Yeah.
that you do. They're my favorites, and I
Yeah.
just wondered if you carve them out and then paint them, or do you paste pieces onto them?
Okay, about 30 years ago or so, I think my friend Leo Osborne, another Maine artist, but mostly wildlife, he painted a lot for Audubon. I mean, sculpted a lot. Birds, just beautiful art, realistic birds. Well, we went to Boston to just see the galleries and see the museum, and I saw a painting there that was from South America. And it was a piece of mahogany about that big and about 3 inches thick, and somebody had carved the landscape out of that with a chisel. And I said, whoa, I love the effect. I said, that's just too damn much work. So I started assembling plywood or boards, or pine boards. Sometimes pine, sometimes plywood. But I cut it up and glued it and painted it, and that's what I call the relief painting. Yeah, right. And I've been doing a lot of those in the last 25 years.
So these are all pieces that
I'm sorry?
you cut the pieces out and
I paint. Yep, and I apply them and glue them on and secure them, and then I gesso the piece and then paint it, and seal it. Yep. And I've done a lot over the years of these.